a point of order. Question number 3, Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Climate Change Issues and asks, is he confident that ordinary New Zealanders are being treated fairly under the emissions trading scheme?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Tim Groser.
Absolutely, Mr. Speaker. Particularly when compared with what would happen to New Zealanders and their jobs, to farmers and our export income, and to businesses and households if that member ever got his hands on climate change policy in a future Labour Green coalition.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister of Climate Change Issues. What inquiries has he made into the practice of companies passing on carbon costs to consumers under the emissions trading scheme, costs that are much higher than the companies themselves are having to pay?
Honourable Tim Groser.
I don't make inquiries. I have discussions with my officials, which are always fruitful, informative and greatly appreciated.
Point of order.
Point of order, Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question was specifically about the passing on of carbon charges. I appreciate he has conversations with his officials. He didn't.
The question, as I heard it, started, what inquiries has he made? The Minister, he said he didn't ask inquiries.
Point of order, sir.
Point of order, Metiria.
Can I just get clarification from you on this ruling now that the subject of the question is only going to be whether an inquiry was made as opposed to the actual content of the question, which is about the details of that. Is that the limit which ministers will now have to whether they made inquiry?
In that particular case, the member asked the question, what inquiries he's made, and then added something substantial to it, and the Minister addressed the question. Now, maybe not to the member's satisfaction. I can accept that it may not be to the member's satisfaction, may not be to members in the House. That's for the House to judge. My job is to rule that he has addressed that question, and I've done so.
Can I just
no, order.
Point of order, sir.
Can I just clarify, because I don't want any misunderstanding here. I have ruled on that matter.
Yes.
Now, the members who are litigating, that's a serious
No, sir,
matter.
I'm seeking clarification.
I have clarified for the member.
I'm seeking additional clarification, sir.
Then if the member could quickly put that point, I'd be grateful.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does that mean then, sir, if a member of the opposition stands and asks a minister whether they've sought any advice on a particular matter, the minister only need answer the part of the question that refers to whether or not they've sought any advice on any other matter, but not on the subject of the question?
No, I don't need the assistance of the minister. On occasions that may well apply. I will judge individual questions, individual answers, and my job is to determine when I think they've been addressed. It's not my decision whether they've addressed to the satisfaction of the member, and I accept in this case it will not have been addressed to the satisfaction of the member. If the member has further supplementaries, we'll hear
Supplementary.
them. Supplementary question, Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is the Minister confident that companies have ceased using the ETS to overcharge consumers, as the ETS review panel found they were doing? That's the government's own ETS review panel found they were doing in 2011.
Honourable Tim Groser.
Mr. Speaker, this government is not about to launch some inquisition into companies on their pricing strategies. We believe in the market, and we know exactly what the market signals are doing in this case.
Supplementary question, Dr. Russell Norman.
Has the Minister bothered to read his own government's ETS review panel report from 2011, which found that companies were using the ETS to overcharge consumers by charging them a higher price on carbon than the companies themselves were paying, and the panel came to the conclusion that it would like to caution ETS participants that they risk regulatory intervention if behaviour continues in the future?
Honourable
Mr. Speaker,
Groser.
yes, I've read the report.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr. Russell Norman.
Does the Minister intend to follow the recommendations of the committee that there should be regulatory intervention if the behaviour continues of companies using the ETS to overcharge consumers, as they found in the government's own ETS review from 2011?
Honourable Tim Groser.
No, we have no intention of doing this, and at the current, regrettably, I'd have to say, low international prices, it's a non-issue.
Supplementary question, Dr. Russell Norman.
So, just to be clear, is the Minister saying that even though his own ETS review found that companies were overcharging consumers by charging them a higher price for carbon than the companies themselves were paying, and the companies pocketing the difference, and called for regulatory intervention to prevent it happening, the Minister plans to do absolutely nothing?
That's right.
Honourable Tim Groser.
Well, I don't have the report in front of me, but it's not my recollection that it said anything of that sort. And at the end of the day, a review is a review. We're the government. We make the decisions on behalf of what we think are the balanced interests of all New Zealanders.
Question.
Supplementary.
Order. Supplementary question, Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Has the Minister sought any update on Treasury's estimate of the fiscal implications of the changes his government made to the ETS, where Treasury found that the increased cost to the government would be of the order of $900 million per year by 2030 as a result of the weakening of the ETS that his government introduced?
Honourable
Mr. Speaker, this is really relitigating very old territory. What that figure referred to, and I can't verify whether the figure is accurate or not, was increased charges the government would have got if they'd increased the pace of the emissions trading scheme. Nobody gave any money to anybody. I think the member needs to live in the current situation.
Order. Supplementary question, Moana Mackey.
Supplementary to the Minister, how can he continue to defend his inaction on New Zealand's collapsed carbon price on the basis that he doesn't want to impose a high cost of carbon on, quote, struggling businesses and households, when the benefits are not being passed on, or were the struggling businesses he was referring to electricity generators and oil companies?
Honourable Tim Groser.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very comfortable with the government's overall approach to containing costs throughout the entire economy, of which this is a very small part.
Question number 4, Simon O'Connor.